You're admitting something and then you're saying that you didn't do something. This is part two. Okay, so we left off talking about the parents and the revelation that the parents were actually stealing the money, Gary's money, out of his blocked account that was set aside for him to have when he was 18 years old. We talked about the fact that Different Strokes ended in 1986 and he was battling depression because of it and not wanting to be in the industry. So, boom, he was friends with his friend Dion. Dion was shedding light and enlightening him on what was going on with his money. He decided to make Dion his business manager. Now, Dion had money. He had his own coin. And I honestly do think that he was just being a good friend and he didn't intend on working for him. And I think that to this day, Dion was like the only true friend that Gary ever had, to be real. Gary decides to sue his parents and take them to court. They went to court, and his parents actually say that they think that Gary is incapable of handling himself in court, like basically saying like he's incompetent, and they have to take a while to have Gary come out. It was like a whole thing. It was just really embarrassing because it just showed like that they were mad that they were there. It's just like, why are you being shady? Like, you already took his damn money. Like, why are you being shady? You already took his money. So went to court and they found out, through the investigation that they took $1.3 million dollars out of his blocked account. And I believe that he was awarded that money and they had to pay him basically. And that was the end of the trial. Their relationship was never the same after that. It's because I feel like it's just a sense of betrayal. Like, these are your parents. These are people that's supposed to love you unconditionally. And here they are lying to you, going behind your back, doing sneaky things, making sneaky deals, using you. Like we said, this was the end of the 80s. So the 90s were really bad for Gary because he basically had a hard time finding work and he was getting guest star roles and the roles were really embarrassing. Now I look back on it, I remember one specific episode. He was on the Parkers, and I remember that. I think I remember the Fresh Prince one too. It was really embarrassing because they kept making him do the what you talking about Willis type shit, and he was just so over that. He didn't even want to do it on the show, so I can't imagine like just trying to suck it up to get paid on a different show and just having to say it anyway. You don't want to, and you're like a grown man. Like, I can't imagine that. But he was on the Parkers and he had to do that. He was on Fresh Prince and he had to do that. He was on a few other TV shows that were popular in the 90s and he had to do that. On top of doing this really bad commercial about cash, getting cash now, something like that. And he basically, they made him say like all his money problems first to advertise in the commercial. It's just so embarrassing. He just did not deserve to have that type of role, job, anything. And he did it just so he could have some money, but it's like your dignity is on the line. You know what I mean? Like, your self-respect is on the line. And it was just really, really bad for him. 90s weren't just bad for him, but they were bad for the other characters on the show. The guy that played Willis, his name was Todd Bridges. He was in and out of jail during the 90s. And Dana Plato, I believe she played Jessica on the show. She was also battling some substance abuse issues and some drug issues during the 90s, and she actually passed away in 1999 of a drug overdose. And Todd Bridges even said on the documentary jokingly that people would bet money for the three of them, like him, Gary, and Dana, They would bet money to see which one of them would die first because they all were on the same TV show and they all were struggling really bad. It's really sad to see like talented people and talented kids. They were all kids on this TV show. And it's like it shows that if you don't have the right amount of support around you that's genuine, then you could really fall into some deep, deep holes. In the 90s, after those horrible gigs fell through, he got a gig as a security guard. And I believe it was at a strip mall or something like that. And he loved it. He loved being a security guard, and he always wanted to be like a police officer type, you know, when he was a kid. So he felt like it was like a dream come true for him. He got in trouble because a fan had asked him for his autograph. He gave her the autograph. She wanted him to write more on there, and she may have said it like he was obligated to, and he didn't want to. And I think they got into it, and she may have said some things that hurt his feelings, and he punched her in the face. So he got arrested for that at the end of the 90s. It was just bad. He had to go to court and everything. He was in a relationship with a woman in 1997, and I forgot how she said that they met, but said that they weren't like, you know, physically intimate, like he was a virgin, but they had a really good connection and they were like together, boyfriend and girlfriend. They met at Blockbuster. I think that's what she said. They met at Blockbuster and they began to become close, and she moved in with him, and then he was moving into this bigger house or whatever, and he wanted her to come or pack up all her stuff. And when she got there, she seen another woman, so she was confused. And in their relationship, they could see other people, but I don't think that that's what they talked about, like being with another person or having the person around. I don't think they talked about that part. Enters Shannon Price, and this is the infamous lady that would become his wife. Price met Gary Coleman on the set of a movie in 2005 called Church Ball, and he had to go to Utah for this. And he liked the vibe in Utah after he did the movie, so he ended up wanting to stay there. And that's why he moved into the house and whoop de woo. But he met Shannon Price on the set of that movie. She was 19 years old, and they just kind of hit it off when they first met. He called her pretty or something like that, and they started hanging out. And I think she was saying that he was telling her about all his problems and, you know, the trouble that he faced growing up and just everything about his kidneys and everything. She said that he bought her Olive Garden takeout and she was pressed. I would have been pressed too, I ain't gonna lie. She basically said that she loved the things that he did for her. I noticed that a lot. She talked about a car that he bought her. She talked about like him just doting on her and being very affectionate with her, and that she loved that about him, that he would just shower her with gifts basically. I didn't hear her say much about like the person that he was or anything like that. As far as her like loving him, I didn't hear that. They got married in 2007. So I want to say they were dating for that 2 year period, and then they got married in 2007. In their marriage, police were called to their house all the time for domestic reasons. They were both, as she said, both putting their hands on each other. But she did also say that she never hit him. So who can believe that? You're admitting something and then you're saying that you didn't do something. So they had a very like tricky relationship. There was like some sort of like TV show, and he actually said some things on there about like her just wanting his money and her not being supportive and her just, I mean, just pressing him to go to work and pressing him to go to work every single day. And it just gave that that's all she wanted was money from him. Because she would just be like, I guess he would tell her like gigs that would be coming up, and he didn't want to do it because it's just assassinating his character. And she would be like, well, we got to pay the bills. How are we going to pay the bills? I'm like, girl, get a job. Like, get a job. You know he's struggling, so why wouldn't you get a job? Like, I don't get that. She showed herself. She showed what she was really interested in their relationship. Everybody knew their relationship was tumultuous and that he was getting demeaned and talked down to, and she would talk about his size, and she would talk about, she would throw everything back in his face that he told her about his personal life, and she would just make him feel like less of a man. He probably already feels that way sometimes, and you're actually saying it to your husband. Even on their wedding day, they show that on the documentary too. You can see that she just looks disconnected. Like he looks so happy. Like he looked so happy that day, and she just looks very disconnected. Like she don't want to be there. Like she's just trying to get it over with. That's what I noticed. I'm gonna get closer to the day of his death and what happened after that. The day of his death, he actually had dialysis that day, in her opinion. She said something too along the lines of that she was sick, or she had some type of, she said it was an inner ear problem. I don't know what that means. But that's what she said. She said she had some sort of inner ear problem, and she kind of made it seem like she was sicker than him. Impossible. Impossible. Dialysis and whatever inner ear problem you talking about is irrelevant. So he was weak, and she asked him to go make her some damn pizza rolls. And the way that she's describing the event is that she heard something, like something drop from her room, and she was in the bed, and that she comes to the steps, and he's at the bottom of the steps, and he's bleeding, and there's blood everywhere. And she calls the 911. And the things that you would hear on this 911 call, like, ridiculous. Like, it doesn't sound like somebody that is like in love, concerned, distraught. She talking just like I'm talking. She's just like, I think you guys need to come. He's bleeding. He's not moving. I don't know how much longer he's going to be alive. Dispatch lady asks him, you like put your finger on the back of his neck. Can you see if he has a pulse? She says, no, I'm not. I can't do that. It's too much blood. There's blood everywhere. And I can't be here right now. So you guys have to come because it's too much blood and I can't deal with it. She literally is just saying that, which is very alarming if this is your husband. It's very alarming. And he was allegedly going downstairs to do something for you. And you're the one that, and it's your fault if that's the case. Like, you knew he had dialysis, you knew he was very weak, and he should have been sitting his ass down, and you made him get up. I don't think that that's what happened. Everybody alleges that she pushed him down the steps. That's a pretty far accusation. Because they've had domestic issues, I don't see that not being the case. I just don't see that not being a possibility because they were constantly fighting. I could see her trying to make everything about herself when he comes home from his dialysis and he needs to just be left the fuck alone. I could see her just being all up in his face and just saying this and saying that with her big teeth and her big gums. A possibility that he just fell down the steps. He could have fell or he could have got pushed. Either way, I feel like it has something to do with them arguing or something like that. They put him on the gurney and they take him to the hospital. She doesn't even go to the hospital, y'all. She doesn't even go to the hospital. She closes the garage door and lets them drive off with him. Like, she doesn't even get in. She's not even concerned. It takes for his lawyer to call her like the next day and tell her like, yo, it's serious. This is serious. You need to go up to the hospital. Like, you need to go up to the hospital. And she goes up to the hospital. She says that she claims, because I don't believe a word she's saying. She claims that all the doctors are telling her that he's not going to, basically, that he's not going to make it. And he's on life support. And basically, it's her decision whether she wants to keep him on or not. But he does have a clause in his will that if something happens, that he wants to be left on life support for 2 weeks, um, just to see if he can get better. And she literally takes him off life support in 2 days. She like calls some of his friends like, you better hurry up because I'm taking him off, type shit. Like, girl, oh my God. Before he dies, she takes a selfie with him. I think back then it was like People magazine and stuff, like in the newspaper. It was in every single magazine. And I know it was because she sold it. She sold the picture to the tabloids and to the press. I know she did that. Because how would they get the picture? How would they get the picture? She took her time to take a selfie with him on his deathbed with tubes in him and everything. His head all bandaged up, looking, like death. She took a picture with him, a selfie, and she admits this. She said, I took a selfie with him. She said, I think people, and I quote, she said, I think people needed to see him like that so they can see that he's human. Didn't nobody think he had superpowers? Didn't nobody think he was immortal? What are you talking about? What are you saying? And I mean, it just shows that you really have to watch who you're with, because he was declining after his experiences with his TV show, but at the same time it's like he declined even more being with her. Even more. Even more. Everybody say he was a nasty person after years of just being in the limelight, and people, but at the same time people thought that he owed them something because he was on TV. People just treated him like crap because he was on TV. Like, they just like, do the thing, like, do it, say it. Like, that's how people treated him. So I can't imagine just wanting to be left alone, and you can't. You can't even be left alone, not even in the industry anymore. You just want to live a calm, peaceful life, and you just want to be left alone. But everybody still acted like he owed them something. Maybe he did get a little angry. I remember he was on The View or something, and he said, F you to all of them. I forgot what. Oh, I think they were talking about him and his wife, and they were asking him, like, do he hit his wife, and does she hit him and stuff like that. He got real mad about that. He got real mad about that one. And they did end up divorcing in 2008, but she was still staying with him in the house, which is weird because she wouldn't have been staying with me. And I think that he was trying to get it annulled, and he changed his mind with the lawyer and told her, oh, everything is fine, I think that maybe we could work things out. And he ended up dying in 2010. He died May 28, 2010. And it's because she pulled the plug and took him off life support in 2010. She really, on the documentary, is acting like she didn't do anything wrong. She's just acting like sketchy. It's like, girl, we know it's something wrong with you. We know you did something and you're not trying to admit it. Gary Coleman had a very rough life, and it's just a damn shame because he was such a good actor. I really wish that he would have gotten the chance to be bigger than he became without different strokes. I wish it didn't follow him into his career and his life like that, because I really feel like it turned from an opportunity to curse. Yeah, it just kind of cursed him in the end. I remember a TV show or a talk show he was on. And someone in the audience asked him, like, can you do, I was just wondering if you could do your famous line for us. And the host was like, yeah, you got to do it. And he was like, no, I don't. No, I don't have to do it. I don't have to do that anymore. He was like, I'm a grown man. You know, I was saying those things when I was a kid. Like, I'm over that now. And I hope that you guys can get over it too and move on. Rest in peace to Gary Coleman, one of the greatest child and adult actors of our time. He deserved way more respect. You guys for watching. It's Ombre Alert, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.